Welcome back to Awful Stories. I'm Matt, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe for daily videos. The first story we're going to cover is titled, Girlfriend Let Me Borrow Her Apple Watch to Track My Heart Rate for My Anxiety. Turns out my heart rate only lowers when I'm not with her. What's the path forward? This was posted to the relationship advice subreddit by a user named Tall Music. I have some anxiety, and since I met my girlfriend earlier this year, it's gotten worse. I assumed it was just due to the state of the world. She suggested I wear her Apple Watch to track my heart rate and see what affects it. Unfortunately, my anxiety is higher when I'm with her, and only lowers when we're apart. It's nearly an exact match. If we're spending the day together, and she goes to the gym or gets coffee with a friend, my anxiety drops as soon as she leaves, and spikes again when she texts that she's heading back. After some contemplation, it makes sense. She's quick to doubt our relationship. Even minor things, like her spilling a drink, can turn into hours long conversations about, do you still like me? Can you stand to be with me? Are you going to break up with me? Even though I immediately respond with, don't worry about it. I have paper towels and cheap furniture. She's a sensitive woman, and I love that about her, since I'm sensitive as well. But I'm always on edge, waiting for the next minor inconvenience to turn into a meltdown. Frankly, it's exhausting to constantly explain that it's fine if she dies in Zelda. It's a video game and really doesn't matter. I don't know how to move forward, or if I even should. Has anyone else experienced a similar situation? And how did you get through it? Okay, this post actually made me crack up a little bit. OP's anxiety is basically the ultimate relationship barometer. Sky high when the girlfriend's around, and miraculously dips the moment she steps out for some me time. And of course, every tiny mishap is like launching a full scale emotional apocalypse. A spilled drink isn't just a spill, it's a relationship crisis demanding hours of reassurance. Tiring? Absolutely. Must feel like living in a minefield of micro disasters. So now the question is, how do you survive loving someone who doubles as a walking anxiety trigger? The comments under this post are actually hilarious. Let's take a look. Two Work Ego said, can I be a fly on the wall when you tell her, babe, according to the Apple Watch, you are the cause of my anxiety? Angels and Insects said, it sounds like the watch has simply verified your actual experience. Her level of anxiety sounds exhausting, even for an extremely even tempered person. Astronauts are specifically selected for being incredibly calm under pressure. This seems like a really bad fit for someone with anxiety, and you two are not what each other needs. You were already feeling this way, but now you have data to reassure you that you weren't imagining it. I would suggest separating so you can both find partners who complement and balance you better. McKittenman said, the other person's energy can rub off on you in a relationship. She's constantly on edge, so of course your relationship is going to feel tense regularly. Being sensitive is fine, but when it's at the extreme end, where small things become life ruining moments, that's far too much to handle. It's going to feel like your relationship is a minefield, just waiting for the next explosion. Long term, it might be better to be with someone who is naturally relaxed, at peace, easy to be around, and enjoyable company. Relationships are built on a foundation of emotions. If you want an easy relationship, you need to be with someone who manages their emotions in a healthy way. The second story for today is titled, My Wife Threw Away My Entire Pokemon Card Collection Because She Said I Was Too Old for It, and was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a user named Judo Plant. I'm a 30-year-old man, and I have been collecting Pokemon cards since I was a kid. Some of them are from the 90s and are even worth a bit of money. Not that it matters, since I would never sell them. Mostly though, these cards are sentimental to me because they remind me of my childhood. I kept them neatly in binders on a shelf in my office. A few days ago I noticed they were gone, and when I asked my wife of 2 years where they were, she casually told me she threw them out because you're a grown man. You don't need to play with kids' stuff. I honestly felt sick. She didn't even ask, just threw away something that's been part of my life for decades. When I got angry, she doubled down and said I should thank her for helping me move on. It seems like I might need to file for divorce, so I just wanted to shout this into the void while I decide what to do. No advice needed, just here to vent. Will Watsov said, not even exaggerating, this is divorce worthy. She will probably paint it as you divorcing her over silly Pokemon cards, but it's really because she doesn't respect you or the things you love. You deserve a wife who doesn't tear you down for your passions, but loves you because of them. To this comment, OP said, in my view, when she decided to do this, she threw away our marriage along with the cards. A few days later, OP gave us an update. Firstly, I want to start off by saying thank you for all the messages and support on my last post. I don't want to be that guy, so let me address a couple of the commonly raised issues and questions. I checked with the local rubbish collection service, but unfortunately, they weren't able to help. It's not the case that my soon to be ex wife sold the cards. She threw them out, 100%. She has no need for the money. My wife does not have a gambling or drug problem that I am aware of. We spent most of our days together, so it would be impressive if she managed to hide something like that. As for me, I have moved out of the family home and made my intentions clear to my soon to be ex wife that I will be filing for divorce shortly. She did not take it well. She admitted wrongdoing and said it was a lapse in judgment, but sadly, this isn't something we will be able to reconcile. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to comment and reached out. It helped more than you might think. Additionally, a couple of people reached out offering money to help me replace the cards. As much as that is a kind gesture, I won't be accepting any donations, but if you are feeling generous, please consider donating to your local homeless shelter. This will be the last update from me on this. Bayou Blue said, in the early 1980s, my mom became evangelical and started believing everything was demonic. I had two large cardboard boxes full of comics. I used to buy them at a thrift store for about 10 cents each. I had, as I know now, some valuable comics. When I came back in early high school, I discovered she had burned them all. Unfortunately, I couldn't divorce my mom. Lonely Galaxy said, what was her end game in doing that? What did she expect to happen? That she would become your only Pokemon? To this, Ansam said, she had an image of a man in her head, and Pokemon cards weren't part of that image. I've seen people get into fights and breakups with their partners over gym time, mountain climbing, working too much, working too little, collecting things, playing video games, or not being a servant to the in laws. For example, someone wanted their days off to themselves, not promised away by their partner. The partner said a real man would just do it on top of working, like her dad, who incidentally is divorced 3 times. This third and final story is titled, when I was 16, I robbed several ATMs and was somehow never caught. This was posted to the confession subreddit by a user named Mooney Mark. I'm in my 50s now, so I'm probably not going to get arrested for this, but I still don't know how it never caught up with me. In the early 80s, ATMs had a feature called Deposit with Cashback. It was a check cashing feature, but for some reason it operated on the honor system. Of course, this feature eventually went away, but I figured out that if I just put an empty envelope into the ATM and didn't seal it, I could claim the bank lost it. The ATM would cash the check. Then a week later, the bank was like, that envelope was empty. For whatever reason, Bay Bank let me get away with that. That summer, my family stayed in a cottage in Hyannis for 2 weeks. During that time, I opened savings accounts at 5 different banks, using the rented house address. They mailed me ATM cards within a few days. I deposited with cash back on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and early Monday. Back then, the limit was $400, and banks were going to check the ATMs by Monday, so the scam would be over. I scored $10,000 in 1984 currency. No one ever came looking for it. I was never questioned or arrested. I don't understand why or how. The only thing that happened was the FDIC put me on a list of people banks shouldn't do business with. I didn't even find out about that until I was 21, 5 years after the crime. I was in college and tried to open a bank account, and no bank would let me. 40 years later, I have a bank account and nothing ever happened. It's the only time in my life I had good luck. Of course, I blew the money. Back then, it was enough for a down payment on a house or to easily buy a car. I spent it on girls, weed, and beer. It was fun, but I wish I'd been smarter. The Mad Bug said, it's hard to be both dumb and lucky enough to commit crimes, but smart enough to spend the money wisely. I remember a story about someone who worked on making poker machines, put in an exploit, won a ridiculous amount of money, and then used that money to gamble on poker machines they hadn't rigged and lost it all, and then got caught. Your outcome, having fun with the money but not ending up completely destroyed by it, is honestly one of the better ones. Texas USA said, I was leaving Vegas in a taxi to the airport. I asked the driver if he gambled. He told me he had won $60,000 on a slot machine. I asked him what he did with the money. He told me he spent the next 6 months giving it back to the casino.